Welcome back everybody to a brand new video. My name is AJL Bricks and today we're going to be reviewing the LEGO Star Wars set Yoda's Jedi Starfighter. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now, before we do go on to this video, a quick disclaimer is that this video is not sponsored by LEGO and all opinions are of my own. And like always, if you do go on to enjoy this video, don't forget to hit the like button, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and most importantly, let me know down below in the comments, do you have this set? Do you own this set? What are your thoughts about this set overall? So before we get into building this set, let's talk a little bit about the set itself. This is LEGO set 75360, Yoda's Jedi Starfighter, and is part of the Star Wars themed set. It is targeted for ages 8 and up and was released back on August 1st, 2023. This LEGO set contains 253 pieces and retails for a price of $45 Canadian, $35 USD, and 30 euros. All in, it has a price per brick of about 18 cents, which is on the more expensive side for this type of LEGO set. Now, let's take a look at the box. So the front of the box follows the 2023 remakes of these LEGO Star Wars sets that are part of the Clone Wars era. So we'll talk about this more in detail later on, but this LEGO set is technically a remake of the 2017 version. And these were released to commemorate the celebration of 20 years of the Clone Wars. Now, starting at the bottom left, we do have a new Clone Trooper figurine that is different from the 2017 version. The actual 2017 version of the box has a more realistic Clone Trooper design on the front of the box, whereas this one is more of the LEGO Star Wars version of it. Now, the cool thing is because this Clone Trooper has an orange helmet, it was probably part of the 212th Battalion, which is the one that Commander Cody led. Now, continuing on the front of the box, the bottom right of the box illustrates both the minifigures that we will be getting in this set, which we will also talk about later on. These include Yoda and R2-D2. And then finally in the middle of the box, which is the main attraction, this is Yoda's Jedi Starfighter ship, which we will be building very, very soon. On the top of the box, there is a 1-to-1 scale of Yoda's minifigure. And then if you go look on the sides of the boxes, there's just some warning labels / additional writing, and of course the best part, the reason why they made this set in the first place, the 20 years of the Clone Wars celebration sticker. Now finally, let's take a look at the back of the box. Now this is where we get a different perspective of the starship itself, and this illustrates the engine detail as well as its functionality components. Now just looking at the box, it looks like there's only 2 functionality components to this set, but we will confirm that once we build the set itself. These include the ability to shoot lasers as well as the ability to open and close the canopy of the ship in order to put Yoda inside of his starship. Now, with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and unbox it and build this set. Before we dive deep into the actual build itself, let's just go back and take a look at where this starship actually comes from and why LEGO even decided to make it in the first place. So Yoda's Jedi Starfighter was first seen in the Star Wars animated series called The Clone Wars. Its most notable scene is actually in Season 6, Episode 12, which is called Death is Just the Beginning, where Yoda voyages into the heart of the galaxy to an ancient world that is one of the well springs of the Force and source of midichlorians. Now, the whole point of this episode is that Yoda undergoes difficult trials administered by the 5 priestesses, who are mysterious Force wielders who also hold the secret to immortality. It's a little bit of foreshadowing because, as you know, later on in the movies, Yoda actually does develop the skills to become a Force ghost. So this is kind of like the introduction of how he learns how to master that power. And in addition to that, because this is a very unique starship in the Star Wars universe, and because Yoda is a big presence in the Clone Wars animated series, LEGO ended up going ahead and actually remade the 2017 version of the starship into the one that we see currently today. And then this is to celebrate the 20 years of the Clone Wars, because Yoda is a big part in the Clone Wars animated series as well as the episodes 1, 2, and 3. Now let's move on to the minifigures themselves. Now let's look at the minifigures. This set comes with 2 distinct minifigures, which includes the brand new 2023 version of Yoda as well as R2-D2. So we'll start things off with the more fun character, which is Yoda. So this is only featured in one set, and actually the 2017 version of it was featured in 3 different sets. This is a brand new remake of the Yoda character. While building this set, I did notice a few things that really stood out to me. The first thing I noticed is the textures on the head. It's very similar to the Disney 100 Mulan character, where they're not using the hard plastic, they're use more of a rubbery finish to the headpiece. What I think it allows the creators at Lego to do is actually put more detail into those headpieces. For example, showing the hairlines, or in Yoda's case, you can actually see part of his hair still on his head in this case. And I really do enjoy these, and I hope that when they are making more custom head minifigures, they use this rubber technique rather than just using the normal hard plastic. And you can see on the back of the minifigure too that they actually dye part of Yoda's head on the back to show his gray hairs, which is pretty accurate to the Clone Wars animated series as well as the actual movies themselves. In my opinion though, especially comparing this 2023 version to the 2017 version, I definitely think it is more accurate, especially when it comes to the headpiece itself. In addition to his headpiece, the other change that they made to the minifigure compared to the 2017 version is the actual clothing is a little bit darker. It's not much of a difference, but I definitely think it's a little bit more accurate to the animated TV show rather than the movies itself. So basically, in summary, just looking at some photos and also comparing my version of the 2023 version Yoda to the 2017 version of it, I think the 2023 version is definitely more refined and more accurate towards the animated series itself, which I think suits perfectly with the fact that this is supposed to be a celebration of 20 years of the Clone Wars. In addition to the Yoda minifigure, you do get a green lightsaber that goes with it. One thing that would have been cool though is if they made the lightsaber a little bit shorter. If you notice in all the animated shows and also the live action, his lightsaber is a little bit smaller than all the other lightsabers, but I get the feeling that Lego didn't want to make a brand new piece specifically for this one. Maybe it was half the size or 2/3 of the size, but either way. But yeah, you pretty much just get a green lightsaber, which works perfectly for Yoda. Next up, we have his R2-D2. There isn't really anything new about this R2-D2 character. R2-D2 has been printed hundreds of times across numerous Lego sets, and there's really only so many changes you can make to the character itself. It's pretty similar to even the 2017 version or even versions before it. All I've really noticed is that they kind of remade this R2-D2 character back in 2022, and they've been using him in all the Star Wars sets that feature that R2-D2 minifigure. But when you compare it to other versions, there isn't that much of a difference. Maybe the printing detail might be a little bit more detailed than it normally would be. Now let's go ahead and talk about the build experience. So starting at the beginning, this set comes with 3 bags, 1 sticker sheet, and 1 75-page booklet. The overall build took me about 45 minutes to do, but I do blame the fact that I was watching TV at the same time, so I was building a little bit slower than I probably could have. Realistically, if I wasn't distracted, I could probably do it in about 30 minutes. And then after building the set, there was a total of 11 spare parts, as you can see on the table. So in the first bag of the build, I created both the minifigures and the base of the Starfighter. The second bag completed the main hull of the Starfighter itself, and then finally the last bag basically added on the wings and any additional accessories, kind of like the lasers or like the final little touch-ups for the model itself. So the set itself does come with 6 stickers, 1 printed piece, which was the cockpit window for Yoda. The stickers themselves were pretty basic and mostly just kind of additional details that I noticed onto the ship itself. I did feel like that the actual stickers that they did print blended in quite well with the pieces that they were supposed to be stuck onto. I've seen in the past with other Lego sets, specifically if the sticker has a white background, that it really stands out if it's put onto a white piece. So big ups to Lego for making sure that it blended in properly there. So I think the overall build was interesting. It wasn't very challenging, but I didn't actually expect that as well because this was a set for ages 8 and up. That being said though, it was still a lot of fun and I genuinely enjoyed it, and we'll talk more about that later on in the video. The only thing I did notice that I wasn't a fan of after completing this set was how the cockpit functionality works. I noticed that you can't actually fully open the cockpit to properly get Yoda in and out, and I feel like that is a little bit of a design issue. So realistically, if you watch it in the show, that cockpit's supposed to open up like pretty much at least 90 degrees so that Yoda can get in and out of the starship. Whereas in this case, in this model, it's only about 60 degrees because it kind of clashes with those turrets. That being said though, one cool feature that I noticed was because this set was obviously tailored for being played with, or it's got a high playability ratio to it versus displayability, which we will also talk about later on, you can easily put all your minifigures in your starship where there's a spot for R2-D2 and a spot for Yoda, so you can easily play with it all at once. Whereas some Lego sets, you can't really combine everything together. This one here, if you want to display it or you want to play with it, everything is kind of able to be compact into that one ship itself, which I did think was really well done. Obviously, they didn't add in extra things that didn't really need to be there, for example. So now that you've learned about this set, it's time to do its official rating. So I've come up with 6 distinct categories. Each one's worth 10 points, so they're all weighted equally. And overall, we'll give a final score to this set itself. My goal is to try to keep this consistent between all of my in-depth review videos, but it is possible that I might add or remove certain categories depending on feedback from you guys or whether or not I feel like it could be switched out or combined with something else. but that's for a later day. So the first thing we're going to evaluate is the overall box artwork itself. So how did I feel about the overall box design? Did I feel like it was eye-catching? Does it target the intended demographic or audience that would buy this set? Personally, I did prefer the 2017 version of the box artwork more than the 2023 version of it. This one feels like it's very kind of simplistic, and it doesn't give you that kind of war theme that the 2017 version did. This one's kind of more laid back in a sense, and more simple is how I would describe this box artwork. I do think that the 2017 version stood out more and really emphasized the importance of this set in the Clone Wars. The box, in my opinion, is a little bit of a downgrade because it's very simple. It's got a more happy tone to it, but I feel like what they did back in 2017 really hit the nail on the head on what these sets should look like, in my opinion. So as a result, for the first rating, I'm going to give this one a 4 out of 10. So number 2 is instructions clarity. And so basically, was the instructions easy to follow? Was there any confusing steps? Did it meet the demographic that this was meant for? In my opinion, I think the instructions were very clear. This set is meant for 8 and up, and I thought the steps were very easy to follow. More importantly, I think it actually allowed you to have a fun build experience. The one thing I really did enjoy is that on the booklet itself, there is a Yoda character that is slowly progressing with you. I think that's a really nice touch and works for all ages. I really enjoyed it, and I can guarantee you people who are a lot younger than me, or more specifically kids who are 8 and up who are building this set, will also enjoy that little addition onto the instructions. So overall, I thought it was a really nice touch. I would give the instructions clarity an 8 out of 10. Category number 3 is the build experience. So the first thing I look at is there a lot of repeat steps? Does it get boring? Is there a lot of cool techniques used? Did I overall do I enjoy that experience? I enjoyed that 45 minutes I spent building this set. So like I said before, this set did take me about 45 minutes to complete. The overall build wasn't challenging at all. It was fairly easy. There were some cool techniques used. There weren't anything, in my opinion, that was very notable. I just felt like the main thing for me was the overall build experience felt complete. It didn't feel like after I finished building it that I was missing steps or there was something that could be missing. I think what I bought, I actually ended up making, and there wasn't anything I would change from the build. I think they did a good job for building something at this scale. So overall, I give it a 7 out of 10. The fourth category is durability. So do pieces fall off easily? Is this build sturdy? Should you play with it? Should you not play with it? What's that overall design feel for it? I think the set itself is relatively sturdy. That being said though, obviously this is meant to be played with, so I can definitely see a lot of pieces falling out. It's not something that I would maybe throw around, because I think, for example, the wings could fall off easily, or parts of like the turrets could definitely fall off. I think the design is meant perfectly for people to play with. That being said though, if pieces do fall off, they're pretty straightforward to put back on, which I did think was really nice. And in addition to that, I think the nice touch of having the lasers at the bottom of the cockpit allows it to be more sturdier when you are going to fire them and actually like use them. I feel like if they were at the top and there wasn't anything compressing the bricks down, they would easily pop off, but I think they chose a really good spot for those. Overall, I'll give the durability about a 6 out of 10. Moving on to category 5, this is the design accuracy. Now, so in this case here, this is a Star Wars theme set, and it's based off of Yoda's animated Star Wars Jedi Starfighter. Comparing to the actual real life model, I thought they actually did a pretty good job. Like, one thing I really enjoyed is they actually refined a lot of the techniques used in the 2023 version compared to that 2017 version. Most notably is actually how they did the wings. I felt like the 2017 version, it was a little bit too clunky and too bulky. In this case here, they changed up the design and actually made it more sleek and made it more like actual animated series itself. Like, the one thing I did enjoy is that the wings can fold all the way in, so that you kind of get that seamless look similar to how Yoda would like land his ship itself. So I think the overall proportions between the green and gray tiles was really well done. I like the fact that they didn't overdo the stickers, and the stickers did complement the build, and they didn't stand out in a negative way. If anything, they provided the details that the ship was missing itself. So overall, for being a smaller ship, I think the design was pretty accurate. I don't know what I would honestly change from it, so I'm gonna have to give this one a 9 out of 10. So the last category is design creativity. So what I'm looking at was there any cool building techniques used? Were there any hidden Easter eggs? Was there anything that was out of the ordinary that really made this set pop, or in this case, allowed it to be more accurate to the design? What was the overall thought process used when creating this set? Like, I think the overall design was well done. I think with using only 253 pieces, they captured Yoda's ship very well, in my opinion. I think the build was pretty easy, and it involved a lot of fun techniques, and I think it's tailored perfectly for people who are 8 and up. My only concern with this, and I think this is where it really sets it back from being more of my only opinion, and like I mentioned earlier, that I think holds it back from being a 9 or 10 rating for this build is the issue with the cockpit. I feel like that is a design that they noticed and they didn't really fix, and I think you could have easily found a way to move those turrets to a different area so when you were to open the cockpit, it wouldn't actually clash with those turrets. I do feel like that is a design flaw, and at the end of the day, that is something that could have been fixed because it's pretty noticeable. I did try my best to find other places you could put it, and I definitely think you could, if you made the model just a little bit bigger, you easily could have put those turrets in a different spot and had the cockpit open as it should compared to the animated series. Other than that though, I think everything else was pretty well done, and that's why overall I'll give it a 6 out of 10 rating for design creativity. So with that being said though, the overall score I gave this one was a 40 out of 60. That's assuming I did my math correctly, and hopefully I didn't make a mistake, but which I think is actually fairly good for a 8+ set. I basically gave it a 67%. But yeah, overall I think getting to 67% is actually pretty good, especially when you're comparing it to all the Ultimate Collector Series Star Wars sets that have like hundreds and hundreds of pieces. I think having a set that's tailored for 8 and up, that's supposed to be playable and all that stuff there, getting a 40 out of 60 rating, I think is pretty well done. And I think they had their own constraints that went with this set, and I think overall they did a pretty good job. Last but not least, we have the display versus playability functionality chart. The whole point of this section is just to show that some sets that you do buy fall more towards the display side and other sets fall more towards the playability side. Because this set is aimed for 8 and plus and it has a playability functionality, in my opinion, this should lean more towards the playability side, more in that 90th percentile if you were to assume that the display is 0 and playability is 100%. I do think that this could be displayed as a piece, but I think the fact that it is a pretty small set, it's a pretty compact set, I would more buy to be something to play with. But that being said though, you could definitely display it. I think it just comes down to whether or not this is something that you collect Star Wars sets to play with or you collect them to display it. Either way would work, but based on my opinion on how this set was designed, I would lean it more towards that playability functionality. So finally we get to the verdict. This is where I ask myself 3 simple questions to determine my overall opinion of this Lego set. The first question is, what was my favorite part about this set? I have to say the building experience. I built this actually on a Monday night, which was a work night, and it was a lot of fun to do. It was very relaxing. The instructions were very easy to follow, and I generally just enjoyed the build. And that for me, that was my favorite thing about this set. It's tailored for 8 and up, but honestly, sometimes the simple, easier sets is what actually makes it more fun because you're able to complete it in a short period of time. And it's not confusing, it wasn't repetitive. There was a lot of different components that went into it, and I genuinely did enjoy building it. What would I change about this set? Like I mentioned a few times in this video so far, I think the biggest design flaw is that cockpit issue. I think if they were to fix that, move the turrets, or even make the actual centerpiece of the ship bigger so that there isn't any clashing with the cockpit window and the turrets, I think this set could be easily a 10 on 10 for anybody looking for these kinds of sets. And then last but not least, is this set worth buying in 2024? I think maybe. I mean, it's hard to say. Like, I think that this set is a very playable set. It depends if you want to play with it or if you want to display it. It is pretty small. The figures are pretty cool in my opinion. Obviously you get the brand new version of Yoda. That's awesome. I think it just comes down to whatever you want. My kind of issue is that it is a $45 set Canadian, so it is a little bit on the more expensive side when it comes to the price per brick. But honestly, I think it just comes down to whether or not you enjoy Star Wars, you enjoy Yoda as a character. If this is the case, this is a perfect set for you. If you're just a Star Wars fan and you don't really care for this set, I don't think you're necessarily missing out, but it definitely could be also a cool set to add to your collection. So yeah, that's my official in-depth review of the Lego Star Wars set 75360, Yoda's Jedi Starfighter. But yeah, let me know what you think down below in the comments of this set. Overall, like I said before, I generally enjoyed this build. I'm curious if you guys have built this set. Definitely leave a comment down below. Also, let me know if there's any other sets you'd like me to review. It doesn't have to be something that's been released recently. It could be something that was released even a year ago. If I can find it at a good price, I'm more than happy to do a review of it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. With that being said though, if you did go on to enjoy this video, don't forget to hit the like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button that pops up in the middle of the screen here. Leave a comment down below. Most importantly, click on one of these 2 videos, and I will see you guys in the next one. So see ya.